Imagine with me that ferocious monsters have taken over planet Earth, killing all humans except for those living in the mountains, as the monsters can't reach the mountain dwellers for an unknown reason. In one of the cities at the top of the mountain, there's a father who decides to descend from the mountain and venture into the midst of the monsters to find a cure for his son. Will he succeed in this mission or not? That's what we will see in today's movie. The movie opens with a tense communication over military radios, as soldiers urgently report an unexpected assault by mysterious creatures worldwide. This is Netherland, Colorado, where most of the town lies in ruins, yet everything above 8,000 feet remains completely untouched. Despite their attempts, the military is quickly overrun. Fast forward 3 years, and what's left of humanity has sought refuge high in the mountains, as the monsters are unable to reach elevations above 8,000 feet in the Colorado Rockies. A small town becomes a sanctuary for a group of survivors. Among the survivors is a boy named Hunter, who ventures below the safe altitude line to use his binoculars and catch a glimpse of a neighboring settlement on a distant mountain. On his way back, he notices a glowing red light following him. A monster has picked up his scent. Hunter sprints up the slope toward the clearly marked safe altitude boundary. Just as the creature closes in, he crosses the line, and the monster halts its pursuit. Back home, Hunter recounts the encounter to his father, Will, who is furious and reprimands him for risking his life. He reminds Hunter about his weak lungs, which could have failed during the chase, emphasizing that he relies on oxygen every night. Later, Will goes hunting with Caddy, a friend of his late wife Tara. He explains that Hunter often descends below the boundary to observe the other community. Caddy sympathizes, noting that Hunter misses having peers his age and longs for someone to play with. However, Will adds that it's not just about loneliness. The place Hunter visits is where he last saw his mother while tracking a deer. Will and Caddy successfully take down their prey and begin their journey back with their haul. On the way, they notice their neighbor, Gnaw, working on makeshift armor-piercing rounds, testing them on a piece of a monster's tough, nearly indestructible scales. Before the apocalypse, Gnaw was a brilliant scientist devoted to her research, and now she dreams of finding a way to eliminate the creatures. That evening, Will hears a warning beep from the inhalation machine his son uses at night and quickly replaces the filters. Hunter struggles to breathe due to being born prematurely, leaving him with underdeveloped lungs that could fail at any moment. With the stock of filters running dangerously low, Will decides to take the risk of making a perilous trip to the lowlands, specifically to Boulder, believing the hospital there might still have supplies. The next day, Will spends quality time with Hunter, teaching him how to shield their potato plants from the cold and demonstrating the proper way to catch fish. Since it's Hunter's birthday, Will heads to the town store to buy the last available gift. Will buys a packet of macaroni and cheese, Hunter's favorite dish, to prepare a special dinner. As they eat, Hunter expresses his frustration about the lack of social interaction and asks why they don't use the radio to communicate with others. Will explains that their electricity barely supports Hunter's machine, so they stay in touch with other shelters using flags. After dinner, Caddy stops. They sit on the porch, reminiscing about their carefree lives before the apocalypse while watching Gnaw's latest experiments. Later that night, Hunter suffers another respiratory attack, prompting Will to use an emergency syringe of medicine since they've run out of machine filters. Realizing time is running out, Will heads to Gnaw's house in the middle of the night. "How's the drinking?" he asks. "It keeps me from killing myself," she replies. "And how's yours?" "It keeps me from killing you." From their conversation, we learn that Gnaw once ventured to Boulder's labs to gather chemicals and equipment for her research on weapons against the monsters. It was during that trip that Tara, Will's late wife, was killed, leaving him with deep resentment toward Gnaw for leading Tara to her death. However, because Gnaw is the only one to have ever returned alive from such a dangerous trip, Will asks her to accompany him to the hospital. At first, Gnaw refuses, calling the idea sheer madness, but Will was confident she will eventually change her mind. After he leaves, Gnaw begins crafting a special compass, haunted by flashbacks of the past. Haunted by guilt from her last excursion, where she witnessed the monsters slaughter her friends, including Tara, Gnaw is eventually compelled to join Will's mission. Will asks a local woman to look after Hunter while he prepares for the journey. At the armory, Caddy confronts him, angry that he is leaving without a word. Caddy asked Will, "You are just going to get yourself killed, like Tara." Caddy grabs a gun and insists on joining the expedition. Will protests, saying she can't go, but Caddy argues that he needs a partner. "I am going with you," she says, and after some back and forth, they agree. Outside, Na is already waiting, and warns Caddy that the monsters are even more dangerous up close. The creatures are unlike anything she's seen from the mountaintop. They tear through people with ease, impervious to bullets. They have to shoot them directly in the face. This may slow them down. Before leaving, Will promises Hunter to return in 5 days. The group sets out along a carefully planned route designed to minimize the time spent below the safe altitude. Along the way, it is clear that Na and Caddy are not friends and that they dislike each other. Will was confused about that. He angrily knocks a flask of alcohol out of her hand. As they travel, they spot the wreckage of a military convoy below, destroyed by the monsters. It was their chance to get some supplies. They decide to descend and get some. While hiking down the trail, Na explains that her compass has the ability to detect monsters within half a mile, as their magnetic field is stronger than any living organism on the planet. Na hands the compass to Caddy to keep watch while Will searches for gear, and Na retrieves an armored monster scale for research. Then they continue their journey. The tension between Na and Caddy boils over into a heated argument. Na accuses Caddy of flirting with her deceased friend's husband, while Caddy fires back, blaming Tara's death on Na. The fight escalates into physical blows before the group grudgingly presses on. Meanwhile, as they continue their journey, they come across a herd of wild horses, a rare and hopeful sign of nature flourishing in the human abandoned lowlands. Eventually, they reach an old ski resort with a lift that can carry them to the next mountain. As they prepare to board, Na spots a monster on her compass, the warning light blinking urgently in the forest behind them. Will races to the lift's control room to restore power. Meanwhile, the monster closes in. Caddy fires the grenade launcher at it, momentarily slowing the creature but failing to injure it. She and Na take defensive positions, shooting at the advancing threat while Will powers up the lift. Just as the monster nears, the lift roars to life, they climbing high into the lift. Just then, the monster lashed out with a tentacle, striking the cable. The resulting shockwave shook the chair violently, causing all 3 of them to fall to the ground. Fortunately, the drop wasn't too high. Scrambling to their feet, they sprinted toward the safe altitude line, reaching the boundary. The monster stops and can't follow them. That night, the group sheltered in one of the resort houses. Nina explained how the initial attack by the creatures had been so swift and overwhelming that humanity never had a chance to identify their weaknesses. She revealed that the monsters only attacked humans, completely ignoring animals. This challenges the notion that they are predators hunting for food. As they don't consume their kills, they simply exterminate humans, adding to the mystery. No one has ever witnessed the monsters sleeping, and Na finds it strange that they can't ascend beyond a certain altitude before resting. Will recalls a conversation with Tara before her ill-fated trip to Boulder, where he tried to dissuade her from going with Na, accusing Na of wanting to be the first to kill a monster for fame. He argued that Na, without a family, couldn't appreciate the value of life, and would lead others to their doom for her goal. Tara, who also lacked family, didn't heed his warnings. They realize that time is running out, as the Reapers will still be around. The next day, the trio arrives at a mine that cuts through the mountain. Na is furious with Will for not warning them about the dangerous road, reminding him that while the entrances are above the safe zone, the middle is not. The tunnel dips below and branches off, raising concerns about whether it's perfectly straight or if they might go below the safe line. Will points out that monsters emerge from underground and are adapted to navigate these routes, giving them an advantage. They can see in the dark and detect CO2, which adds to the danger. Despite the risks, they don helmets with flashlights and venture deeper. Upon reaching the locked exit, they have no choice but to descend a ladder into a lower tunnel. Will suggests they can't just sprint at the bottom, as it would exhaust them and increase their CO2 output, alerting the monsters. They track the creature from a mile away, spotting a faint red glow down a corridor. As they run, Caddy fires a grenade at the entrance, but it barely slows the monster. They squeeze into a narrow crawl space. turning off their flashlights and holding their breath. The monster searches for them, but Will ignites a flare to distract it, allowing them to crawl further. Unfortunately, Caddy encounters another monster and is dragged away. Devastated, Will and Nina find a ladder and escape the mine. Warning Caddy briefly before heading to a ranger house for the night. There, Will discovers a package of macaroni and cheese, reflecting on how often he made it for his son, noting its addictive qualities. By the fire, Nina proposes that the monster's scales generate an electromagnetic field and suggests designing a bullet to disrupt it. Nina theorizes that a bullet bonded with Parrot could cause the creatures to explode by creating a 1,000,000-volt differential, leading to internal combustion. However, she needs lab chemicals to test it. Will dismisses her idea as ridiculous, regretting that his wife died trying to assist Mina with her theories. In the morning, Will and Na drive the ranger's truck to the safe boundary near the city and hospital. Upon arrival, they cautiously enter, searching for medical supplies. Moving quietly to the upper floors, they find the storage room, but the shelves are empty. Hearing a noise from below, they press on, and Will discovers another storage area stocked with filters he needs. Will fills his backpack, while Nina nervously tracks a nearby monster on her compass. As they head for the exit, the creature smashes through walls. They scramble to the next floor, but a tentacle wraps around Will. Nina swings a fire axe, freeing him, and they activate the fire suppression system for cover. In a storage room filled with oxygen tanks, Will devises a plan. He tells Nina to run while he sets an ambush. As the monster charges, he shoots a tank, triggering an explosion that knocks the creature outside. Nina, who didn't leave, insists they detour to a nearby lab instead of heading back to the mountains. Will questions how much time they've bought, but Nina argues they can't live like this forever and need to prove the monsters can be killed. Reluctantly, Will agrees. As they drive off, they fail to notice the monster stirring back to life. At the lab where Nina once worked, she experiments with chemicals to coat bullets and tests them on monster armor while Will explores the facility. Will finds Nina's old office and discovers a photo of her family. Confronting her, he learns she lost her children during the monster attack because she went to work. Nina feels guilty for encouraging Tara to join her, while Will sympathizes and admits he blames her to avoid self-blame. Frustrated by failed experiments, Will suggests leaving, but Nina insists on staying to continue her work, promising to catch up later. She emphasizes that Hunter needs the filters to survive. As she uses a blowtorch to speed up the coating on her bullets, the compass signals an approaching monster. Spotting rechargeable batteries, she incorporates cobalt to craft a heat-resistant bullet. Just as she finishes, a monster crashes in, and she takes aim to fire. Will speeds toward the mountain in the ranger's truck, but a tire blows out, causing him to crash into a boulder and flip over. He loses consciousness and wakes up as evening falls, hearing the growls of a nearby monster. Grabbing his backpack, he flees on foot toward higher ground, pursued by the creature. As he nears safety, 2 more monsters block his path, trapping him. Desperate, he fires at them, but suddenly one collapses and explodes. At the top of the hill stands Nina, triumphant with a rifle loaded with cobalt bullets, which short-circuit the monster's electromagnetic fields. As the remaining creatures are taken down, Will realizes they are machines programmed to target humans, hinting at extraterrestrial origins. They return to the village, where Hunter greets Will with a tearful hug. Nina raises a flag with a Jolly Roger, signaling to other settlements that she has found a way to fight the monsters. News spreads over the radio, and the locals begin crafting makeshift cobalt-coated bullets. By the river, Nina and Will honor Caddy's sacrifice by placing a bullet inscribed with her name at a memorial. They set out to fulfill her dream of fighting back against the monsters. A volunteer squad, armed with new weapons, descends from the mountains. The camera pans over the landscape, revealing distant flashes of explosions as alien robots are destroyed. Humanity is finally fighting back, leaving a sense of hope in the air. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to subscribe.